I'm Sophie and I'm an artist here in Melbourne, Australia, and I love painting, drawing, scribbling, sketchbooks, all of that kind of fun stuff. And I am a huge fan of ink. I love ink. I think if I was to be stranded on a desert island and can pick only one art supply, it would be ink. So let me tell you what I'm going to be doing in this video, or this series of videos coming up. I'm going to be opening the Inkvent calendar, which is a daily advent calendar from the 1st of December to the 25th. And this is totally not sponsored or affiliated or anything. It's just a fun thing I want to do, and I really enjoyed it. I did this a couple of years ago, and I opened them up on my TikTok, but I wanted to, do something a little bit more purposeful with them and open them with you. Inkvent Calendar, what it involves is 25 little ink vessels, all with different colours, that are specially made for this year's Advent calendar, Inkvent Calendar. And on the 25th day you get like an extra big one. I did it a couple of years ago, like I mentioned before, and it was so fun. It was like the best adult present I could ever imagine buying for myself. And they're fairly expensive, so I left it for a couple of years, and this year I scraped together a few spare coins and purchased a new one for myself for this year, and I'm really excited. To pair with the new ink, I thought I would crack out a brand new onion skin journal, which was a very thoughtful and very beautiful gift from my friends at the Onion Skin Journal. They gave me a big one, a new big one, so we're going to open that together, and then we're going to open door number 1 of the Inkvent calendar. I can't even finish my sentences. Okay, let's go do that, shall we? I'm going to show you the Onion Skin Journal right now. The onion skin's beautiful. This is the second one I've ever had. This is A4 sized. The one I've had in the past is A5 sized. You might have seen the sketchbook tour of it. If not, you should watch it. It's a great video. I really, really, really loved using the onion skin journal, especially the A5 size. Love it. Anyway, it's not made out of actual onion skin. It's made out of like a wood pulp, vellum-ish, I guess. I don't really know exactly, but big thank you to the Onion Skin Journal for gifting me this beautiful A4 onion skin journal. It's such a delight, and this is what the Inkvent calendar looks like. It's so beautiful. The one I had a couple of years ago was all green, so it's kind of like a bit fancy. With it all black, a little bit spooky looking, I don't know. And let's start with day 1. I think it was a really good start colour. I really enjoy this colour. It's called Baltic Blue, and it has this gorgeous bronze copper sparkle with it. Oh, it looks like it's a beautiful like cornflower blue, but it's got this bronze sparkle to it. Let's do some swatching and a little drawing. I'm not usually someone who likes sparkles and glitters and shimmers and stuff in their inks. I really just like pigment. I do like it when the pigment spreads and does like weird stuff, but sparkles aren't usually my jam. But this is kind of a fun, gimmicky thing, the Inkvent calendar, so I don't mind a bit of sparkle here and there with these ones. But I really do love this icy blue, this like cornflower blue with this bronze coppery sparkle to it. It's just such a beautiful complementary color and texture together. It's really lovely. Painting on the Onion Skin Journal is interesting as well. It does take ink really well. Fountain pen ink is mainly used for writing and that sort of thing, I guess, but I like to get a bit extra with it and push the limits of it. So I do a lot of painting, and I use a lot of water, and it holds so well. It's so surprising. The paper is extremely thin and translucent, or like semi-translucent, so you wouldn't expect it to hold water and like big amount of ink so well, but it really does, and it's really interesting. And the paper does kind of crinkle a bit. It does smooth out a little bit once you close the book and, you know, let it like press down, but I don't mind the crinkleness of it. It just has this like old worldy feel to it. It's just beautiful. So what I wanted to do with my illustrations during this Inkvent calendar mini, I guess you could call it a challenge that I've given myself, is to
paint sort of stream of consciousness style, I guess, without much of a plan going into each day. I just wanted to do a bit of like reflecting on how I felt, what I was going through at that time I was painting that day, and kind of just go with what pops into my head. There were a couple of times I did a couple of little mini, very vague thumbnail sketches in my usual sketchbook before I went in, but 9 times out of 10, or 6 times out of 7, I just sort of went for it. And this one is that one. It sort of turned into a bit of a comic page, a bit of a abstract comic. I was thinking about silver ferns. I was thinking about New Zealand, which is where my dad is from, my dad's family, and many generations back there. So I was thinking about the silver fern and nature.
Day 2.
Day 2 is a fun one. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't necessarily like this one, but I liked this one. It's called Wilted Rose. And it's like a nice, warm, cozy, reddish, pinkish brown. I love brown. Brown is one of my favorite colors, surprisingly. Maybe it's because brown is like all the colors in one big color. This one didn't have any sparkle or shimmer or anything like that, which I appreciated. I did like using this one for that reason. And I whipped out my glass dip pen for a little bit of this one as well. This one I kind of struggled through a little bit. I think because I haven't really been in the practice of daily drawing for a couple of months. It took me a couple of days to get into my stride. So I just started something. And I have subscribers on Instagram where I post a lot of work in progress shots and that sort of thing, and Instagram did not like this one. It's pretty obvious. It's like full frontal nudity but it's very stylized and it's art. And yeah, anyway, with this one I was still thinking about ancestry. I love looking back. I love memory. I love family history and trying to figure all that kind of stuff out and learn from it and stuff. So this piece is sort of about me being like, we just come from dirt. We are just the earth people. Who knows where we started and that sort of thing. So this illustration kind of depicts that feeling of someone growing with trees. Yeah, I start adding in some tree branch things. I really had no idea what I was doing, and sometimes you like act on your first idea and maybe it's not always the best option. Maybe it's worth exploring by doing some thumbnailing and some sketching first. But anyway, I went with this idea and I worked hard. I worked for a bit too long trying to make it work. I didn't, anyway, I added a bunch of shadows and stuff, and then it all started blending into itself, and I had to go back and do tons of layers to build up some depth to make it look like actually something. But yeah, it's basically, she's a tree. Branches of the tree are like growing from within, behind, and around. And I've written rise rooted. So that's my little homage to being a human on this earth using the wilted rose colour.
Day 3.
Okay, day 3 was a fun one. Green is one of my favourite colours in the world. I'm not a huge fan of this kind of green. I love more of like an acidy, olivey kind of green, but this was fun. So this one's called Noble Fur, and it is so sparkly. I reckon a good third or maybe even a half of this jar was filled with sparkles and glitters. So, it makes it very Christmassy, and I guess this is it's an advent calendar. It's a Christmassy thing. So, I accept and appreciate that part of this Inkvent calendar color, and I do love it. And it also has a good shimmer to it. It's like a silvery shimmer. Yeah, when I first started laying down the swatches, the shimmer kind of had almost like a golden look to it, and then when it dried, it sort of settled into a silver. It must have just been the silver glittery bits mixing with the green kind of like made me, made me think it was gold for whatever reason. So with this illustration, I was having a hard time. I had received some news that kind of shocked me a bit and threw me into some like big heart pangs of anxiety throughout the day. So I felt like I was just riding this wave of anxiety, and it's the worst I've had anxiety for a long time. So this illustration, I felt like in the waves of anxiety. So this is sort of me, or a depiction of me, I guess, like curled around, waves, curled into a ball, waves just like weaving around my body and pulling me in whichever direction it needed to take me, while I just sort of held myself towards myself, held myself nice and close. And it doesn't really have anything to do with green. I feel like the color didn't really inform this illustration at all. Sometimes I do let the color inform the illustration a little bit more, but yeah, this one was purely feeling. And when I talk about doing illustration stream of consciousnessly, is that a word? I think about my feeling. I think about what I've been thinking about lately. And something will happen. Like I'll start seeing one little thing happen and I'll just go with that. So I knew this one that I wanted to, like in my mind's eye, I saw someone going through waves, like going through the waves of anxiety. So that's what happened. It's so hard to explain where my brain goes. I'm trying. But yeah, I really like this illustration. It's a bit messy, and there were moments where I was like, I can't be bothered doing this anymore. So it's a bit clunky in some spots, but it's alright. Day 4. Yeah, day 4 was a weird one. I ended up drawing this one quite late in the day. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. This one, I like the color. It's not usually the color that I go for. I'm not really a big like plum maroney reddy kind of person. So I was like looking forward to giving it a go and like, seeing what would happen. And I was originally really blown away by the color. It's like quite a lovely plummy wine color. And it did some really beautiful things, and it has no glitter, no shimmers. Pretty. This one's called Forest Scato. It's scented, which I didn't realize. So I wrote the name with the glass dip pen, and it instantly just like bled. It like spider webby leggied out, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Let's just keep going. And I started painting my one. I wanted to do something a bit folk arty. I was feeling very like in my body, and I was like, I need to get out and garden. I did a little bit of gardening that morning. So I was feeling, something in my body and also flowers. So I just combined a body and flowers. Very straightforward. And as I was painting it, it was going pretty well. And then as it started to dry, it started to bleed again. Spider webby leggies, as I like to call it. Just like reaching their little spider leggies out into the paper, and it's very annoying. And I didn't understand at the time. A friend told me later that a lot of scented inks do this bleedy thing, and I'm not sure what sort of chemical they use that does that, but it bleeds, and I didn't like that. It was very annoying. I didn't actually notice it was scented at all until the next day when I was told. So it was a bit of a struggle trying to control that, and it did end up being a bit messier than I would usually like to. I wasn't in the mood to do something clunky and messy. I was in the mood to be precise, and it didn't work out like that. So scented inks, thumbs down for me. Color, like the color, it's nice. And I did some tests because I was like, is it the paper? But no, it's the ink. Scented inks. Who knew? Not me.
Day 5.
Oh, day 5 turned out to be a really pretty one. I sort of thought it might have been, it looked a little bit similar to day 1, but it ended up being a bit more like, yeah, lilac-y, grey-y blue instead of more icy blue. There's me sniff testing the day before, because that's when I found out. Yeah, so this ink is really pretty. It has a bit of a shimmer to it, not too much. It's like a silvery shimmer, so it has, yeah, a nice iciness to it. So this one's color is called Icy Lilac, very apt. And I love the smokiness, and it's a good one because it does that thing where when it dries, especially if you like do a few layers of bleedy blobby bits, it kind of separates into a blue or a pink, and it does all sorts of fun things, which is one of my favorite things about fountain pen or calligraphy pen ink. A lot of artist quality ink doesn't do that bleedy thing. I don't know what the technical name for it is. It's usually like quite a flat color, but I love the chaos of weird bleedy bits. So I've been diving into my garden a lot lately, and again I was doing that. I picked some nasturtiums and I put them in a vase, and so I thought I would draw a vase with flowers in, and then I just had the idea to put a person in the vase as well. As I was drawing it, I was like, oh, this reminds me of a drawing I did in my sketchbook in like 2022 or something like that. So I kind of used my echoic memory to look back at that illustration, I guess, and try to like redo it in my now version. It got a bit bleedy weird in the elbow crevice, but I think that's just because I dried the paper too quickly and I caused a crease in the paper, and it just like bled through the crease. So that was a bit annoying, but you know, stuff like that happens. It's fine. But I really enjoyed drawing this piece and using my glass dip pen. This glass dip pen, by the way, was a gift from Stillman & Byrne, which is lovely. I really love it. It's my favorite glass dip pen I've ever had. It's beautiful. But yeah, I'm really happy with this piece. It's like kind of happy, but it's kind of sad, a bit drowny, but you're surrounded by beauty. So maybe there's something in that with how I'm feeling, especially with like the aftershocks of my anxiety and sad news that I received a couple of days earlier. But yeah, I really like this color. Day 6. This color was a bit magical to behold. I was not expecting this one to be so lovely. That morning I did a nice big clean of my studio, and I was feeling fresh and I was feeling lovely and light, but also like a bit sleepy. So I was thinking about that, and there are like, I don't know if you can hear it, but in the background there are a lot of birdies singing songs in the background, which was also part of what inspired this drawing. This day did have some chaos to it. You will see later I ended up having a big blunder. But yeah, this color is called Cranberry, and it did this beautiful like green gold effect. It doesn't have any gold glitter or shimmer in it. It's like a chemical reaction thing. I have no idea what it does or what it means or how it does it, but it blew my mind. So, you know, I was happily drawing away, then this happened. No, what have I done? No.
You know what? I kind of hate it. I'll save this for some collaging. I'm going to redo it. I like the concept, but I'm going to redo it. Oh dear. Let's re-swatch.
It's a bit annoying. I didn't notice that I smudged it, and by the time I noticed it, it was dry. So I couldn't do much to fix it. Whatever. Started again, and I ended up liking this illustration, this second illustration, like 10 times more than the first one. Just proportion-wise, the first one just was a bit off. So I was really glad actually to do it again. And I really love this color. I loved how that cranberry red looked coming out of my dip pen. It was so beautiful, and the thicker you put the ink down, the more of the gold effect happened. So if you were to do like a wash, you don't get much of the gold effect, but if you were to do like solid red, this beautiful gold color would appear. And this is super Christmassy feeling. This one paired with that really glittery green one from a couple of days ago, so Christmassy. But I really enjoyed this one, and I liked the concept, and I liked doing all the line work and the wibbly wobblies and the feeling of this piece. Yeah, I really like it. Just a fun time. You can see I got a bit messy there. There's some drips everywhere, but you know, that's me and ink. I get my hand all over everything. But yeah, that gold effect is amazing. And this is the last one of this video. This is day 7. So I'm going to do a couple of videos for this series. So in chunks of 7, or the last chunk will be less. Anyway, lemon and lime. It's amazing. As soon as I opened it, I was like, yes, I love this color. I need this color in my life all the time. I was a bit concerned about how light it was when I swatched it, and I thought, oh, it's going to take a bajillion layers to be able to be visible. This might be hard to make an artwork with. But as soon as I sort of started drawing, it kind of like didn't matter, and it was dark enough. I mean, it's quite light, but it was dark enough to see an illustration. And this one has a really lovely pairing with the lime green. It's got this like goldy pinky iridescent sparkle to it, which was lovely, but it was quite heavy, so all of the glitter kept falling to the bottom, so I had to keep shaking it all the time to pick up enough of the iridescent gold, or get my paintbrush and like shove it right down into the corner of the bottle and scoop up as much of the glitter as I can. I was feeling a bit better today. It's the weekend, so I was having a bit more of a lighter feeling day. I actually harvested some seeds from my cosmos flower, so I was thinking about that. So I was thinking this little fairy type person, this little me, just in with her flower harvesting the seeds from inside the flower. So that's what that is. And I really love playing with rhythm and flow and interesting shapes and stuff like that in my illustrations, so I feel like this was a bit of a fun one for me, just being able to play with interesting shapes and seeing how they connect or how they don't connect, and how they can all kind of dance together in a beautiful way. But I just was obsessed with this color, and I kind of wanted to like paint the whole page green and see what happened with the shimmery stuff. But yeah, this is my favorite one for sure. This is my favorite one of the week. I'm not sure how next week is going to beat this one. I think the illustration came out really beautifully. I think the ink is really beautiful. Depending on which angle you look at it, it's like pink or gold. The problem though was that it did smudge off when you touched it after it had dried, so I put some fixative on it and it was all good. So yeah, that's my first week of Inkvent Calendar 2024. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week for the next 7. Okay, tooroo, bye.